It's 87%.
Wow.
87% of real estate agents are not realtors after 5 years of joining the industry. All right, everybody, welcome to episode number 4 of the Brannicky Team Podcast. My name's Tim Brannicky. Of course, we got Jamie, we got Dylan,
What's going on?
we're going to have a special guest wandering in and out this episode. Good old Stevie. So she's running around somewhere around here, but Steve. When I say she, it's a dog. So let's preference
and she
that.
may poop.
Let's not allow that to happen.
Come here.
Now, so
We don't
this
need
episode is
that.
going to be very much about real estate, the business of real estate. So, if you're listening to this more so for buyer seller content, this episode isn't going to be so much for that. It's going to be a little more about how the business is ran, kind of the day to day of a real estate agent, how finding clients, the grind of making things happen. So, do you guys have any opening statements you want to make along those lines?
I'm just excited. I think that, being a realtor has so many different views. Like, I think a lot of people have different opinions and stuff on it. We talked about earlier, just like the fact that people think, you just go golfing and have a lot of money and everything. But what I've learned being in real estate is that it's a true grind. And so I'm just excited to talk about, our experience, and hopefully like people can learn from our experience as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, this is really the only profession I've ever been a part of, so I can't attest to many others. But I know more often than I would have thought, I run into someone who is asking, what real estate course we took, or when we got into the business, or just how to start up. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that aspire to do it, and I think it's useful to at least get an understanding of what you're getting into and, how to start up.
Yeah, I think this is something that's kind of funny that I've noticed ever since getting into the business is like once you have something and you own something, like this is our own business.
Sure.
First off, not a lot of people realize that. They think
Yeah.
once you're with the brokerage, you work for that brokerage, which yes, in a sense they hold our license. We are a designated agent. The brokerage technically assigns us to work with the client. But
Right.
at the same point, we are running our own business. We have our own policies for ourselves. We kind of structure everything on how we want to structure it for our business. So, but it's interesting because I always think about this whenever we're out, whether it's at a bar or at a golf course or at a New Year's event or something. You hear so many people talking about real estate, and it's just you'll be talking and hanging out with your group, and you just hear the chatter in the background, and you always hear somebody talking about buying, selling, moving, job transfer, all that, and you don't really think about it. Like I feel like when you're with your employer, or if you're with a standard job, you don't think about it as much. But when you actually own a business and you actually run your own business, you hear that, and it just kind of gets you fired up because you're like, man, that business is all around us. It's just who are you talking to? Where are you putting yourself at that time?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I've always kind of thought of it like a brokerage. You can compare it to a bank. Like to start up a normal business, you need a loan oftentimes, and they give you the ability to make stuff happen like a brokerage. I mean, they might give you some stuff to help you out, but at the end of the day, you got to go out and get it.
You got to be the rainmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I was going to say is just the fact, I think, one of the first things you told me is that being a real estate agent is, you own your own business, and it's your brand. And I think that can go one of two ways. I think one, that's kind of why people might, fail sometimes. They don't necessarily how to put themselves out there. I think a lot of times when people get into real estate, one of the things that they treasure is the freedom. And, the freedom is wonderful and it's great, but you have to be able to balance the freedom and the hard work that you put in. I think that's something, we've talked a little bit about how much real estate agents sometimes fail. And 100%. I think it's just when you have your own business, I mean, you can't take that lightly. It's awesome. It's cool to have your own brand and to, maybe see yourself on a billboard or whatever it is, but that comes with a lot of hard work, and it's super rewarding, but it's, I don't want to make it sound like it's easy. Oh yeah, I have my own business. I'm, cool, but it really is a lot of work.
And like they always say, freedom isn't free. Like there's that part to it. But Dylan, do you have something?
Well, do you remember the number of agents that make it 5 years?
It's 5, yeah. I say 5 years is the cutoff, and it's
It's like 70%.
Yeah, it's an astonishing number on what it is in
Yeah.
terms of what the actual who makes it past 5 years in the industry.
Yeah,
because
70% don't make it.
don't make it.
Right.
Yeah. And again, that is solely because you get into the business, hearing all the stereotypes, hearing it's how lucrative it is, and hearing you have all the free time and you can do whatever you want. And don't get it wrong. There is the possibility of some, I guess you could say, some flexibility within the job if you want to take it. But at the same time, just like anything, if you're going to take the flexibility and do something besides work, you're going to miss out on business. So don't come around in 3 months, 4 months, say, damn, I didn't get any business the last couple months. I wonder why. I don't know why. Maybe because you weren't doing anything. And I mean, crazy how that happens.
Yeah. And I think one thing, we were just talking about this. I mean, you have, what was it, like 7 like clients you're kind of like working with right now. And that's the thing with real estate is like, you could be doing something like, you could be doing a lot of things at once, and then you could have like these slow times. So I think it's also important to remember, like if there's any real estate agents out there, or anybody who wants to be a real estate agent, one of the biggest pieces of advice that I have is to keep the pipeline moving, because you may have 7 people right now, and you could have a really great month. You can make $50K this month, but what's next? I think that's a big thing for people is like, what is next? Where can we aspire to get to next? Because it's great to have that success, but it's also great to build on that, because that's how you make it a living. If you just have a few years of good months, then it's not really making a living. And so I think that's important.
One thing to note, and I just looked this up just so we can get an accurate number, it's 87%. Wow. 87% of real estate agents are not realtors after 5 years of joining the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you guys have been in the business a little bit now, and I think you realize that realtors are not all the same. I mean, there is a big difference. Dylan, you and I were just talking today about there's someone that you're trying to get in touch with for putting an offer in on the house. And you're just saying the communication to get in touch with that person is just non-existent. They don't take phone calls.
Yeah.
And I think there are so many, and we talked about phone calls on a different episode on how communication is so important, but it's just, there are so many aspects of real estate that really, I mean, you can do really well in it, but at the same time, 87% are going to drop out after 5 years solely because they take the luxury of not having any structure. And I think that goes back to talking about running a business.
Right.
Those agents don't treat it as a business.
And I mean, on top of that number, I think it's less than 50% or even full-time agents.
Yeah, a lot
in
of
terms of
part-timers.
agents that have a license.
Well, go ahead. If you want.
Well, I mean, this is kind of a different topic, but I wanted to also bring up the fact of, like you mentioned, structure. I think one of the things we want to talk about is building a system. Like, for instance, I use a lot of social media to build leads. And so I think it would be interesting to kind of dive into where you guys have seen the most success and how, like, what your day in the life is. I know that that's a really deep question, but like, I guess, Tim, what do you do? Like things like CRM. I mean, for you now, you have a lot of referrals, but can you, I guess I would love to hear, or let the listeners hear kind of what everyone's like day in and day out looks like.
I think that's the thing. And we all talked about at the beginning of this year, kind of, we came up with a business plan, a structure, because again, we're going to just keep repeating this. We own our business. So we need to treat it like a business. Anyway, so after talking, we came up with a structure, and we talked about how there are so many avenues of generating business. And it kind of blows my mind when we hear agents often talk about, man, I don't know where to get business from. Especially experienced agents saying, I'm struggling. I don't have anything going. I don't know where to get any business from, things like that. And it's like, there are so many avenues. And that's why when we talked, we tried to narrow it down to 5. We said, let's pick 5 avenues and just hammer home those avenues of business. Because at the end of the day, if you just sprinkle a little bit on every single possible way out there, you're not going to make any actual impact. So, and it's not, in my opinion, it's not even so much finding a niche. Like, a niche is great. You can have your specialty. There's a lot of specialties out there. But in my opinion, it's just staying consistent, in just hammering those streams of clientele. So for me, it was CRM, our online lead system, which is courtesy of our brokerage, which we really appreciate it. It's an awesome system, works great. Just solds, love calling just solds, just saying, hey, I just sold the home in the neighborhood. Here's what it sold for. Just saying, I'm just informing you. Everyone likes to know what's going on. Just listed. Same thing. When a home goes on the market, I like to call everyone around. Just listed this home for this amount. Have you ever thought about upsizing, downsizing? Do you know anybody who has? Great. I'll call you when it sells and let you know what it sold for. So that's another one. And then it's always interesting talking to expired listings, because expired listings, homes that were on the market, listed, didn't sell after a certain period of time, they got taken off the market, they're switching a realtor to someone new. And it's always interesting hearing, why did they switch? Why didn't the home sell? Where were they moving to? Why? What feedback? Did they even get feedback from the showings they had? So things like that.
I think what's interesting about calling those type of people, or FSBOs even, for sale by owners, is you can actually learn a lot about the approaches that other realtors take, and just what clients or home sellers, home buyers really want in an agent.
Right.
Even if you don't get a listing, you're talking to an expired. You know, some can get carried away. They'll talk to you for 30 minutes about what they didn't like about their previous realtor.
And I think that's another point of emphasis to make when we go circle all the way back, like we're always going to do this episode, is running a business is you need to control your business. You need to understand your time is valuable. So in certain situations, if you know someone isn't, they're just talking to talk and they just want to have company, sometimes you can't just let that go on for an hour. You need to say, look, I love the conversation, I appreciate it, but I want to let some of your other neighbors know kind of what's going on as well. And just politely let them know that my time is not just to call you and just to chat. My time is to inform you, give you any information you want to know or need, and then I need to see if anybody else needs that as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we could also get into is, it continues on with this system, or the idea of having a system. In a lot of jobs, what people do and what organizations do, mainly like corporate places, is track time and figure out where they're putting their time and efforts. And so I think, that's something that I've tried to implement, is figuring out where you're spending most of your time. And I think that's important, because when you look back, it's like you said, if I wasted an hour with this person who's a FSBO, maybe you didn't waste it, but you try to figure out and you see what's working for you and what's not. And that goes back to everyone having a different system, I think, is just extremely important. And also, like, it makes you a little bit analytical as well.
I would say that was probably my biggest issue or setback in my first year, was just not managing my time in terms of clients, because it's so easy to get caught up, because you get excited. I mean, we still do to this day. We will be for the rest of our lives every time we get a new client. But everything you want to do, you wake up wanting to look for houses for them, and you want to call them and tell them what you see, and before you even get them pre-approved,
right?
Or before you even get a buyer agency with them, and it's, or just you can put all your eggs in one basket a little too often, and because a client has every right to drag it out for a year, 2 years, 3 years.
Well, absolutely. And I think if they're being picky, and I think every client's in a different situation. I think that's the most important thing, is understanding what's their motivation, kind of doing a pre-qualifying list to see if it checks out. Because I think one thing that not a lot of people realize is we don't have to work with every single person that wants to buy or sell a house. Not every person has to work with us if they want to buy or sell a house. It goes both ways. It's very mutual. And that's where I look at, like, same with the listing presentation. At a lot of my listing presentations, I will go and I'll say, one of three things is going to happen tonight. Either one, you're going to choose to list your home with me. Two, you're going to choose not to list your home with me. Or three, I may choose not to take your listing. And either one of those three is okay. And I think that's when a lot of times sellers specifically will say, what do you mean you won't take my listing? And it's saying, I want to make sure we're a good fit to work together. Because if this isn't going to be a good mutual fit, why would I want to put myself in that position where, one, it could affect my reputation, 2, it's going to not give you the best service because we're not clicking on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
And 3, time management. I mean, you need to be effective with your business.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most effective things that we can do as realtors in general. And that's a good way to put it, is to know our worth and then also be able to portray that to potential clients. Because, I mean, we just had a conversation the other day about a client. You were wanting to list their house, or it was a while back, and there was just some pushback on commission.
Yeah.
And, you can ask yourself, and you can ask them, why would you know my worth better than myself?
Well, and my thing too is, and this is how I always look at it is, and one other thing, and right after I say this, I have one other thing I want to mention as well about kind of personality styles is, but from what you're talking about, if another agent, this can be viewed multiple different ways. So there's not one way to look at it. This is just from my business, my viewpoint. This is the way I look at it, which is if you're going to go with another agent that's going to lower their commission dramatically just to work with you, just so they can get a listing, why does that make me concerned? It concerns me because if they're going to lower their commission right off the bat to work with you just to take the listing, how strong do you possibly think they're going to be when it comes time to negotiating the price for your home, especially once you get a good seasoned agent that's coming in and trying to negotiate that down?
Mm-hmm.
If they can't even stand up to you regarding their own worth, how strong are they possibly going to be when it comes time to negotiating the price for their home?
100%.
And, and I think going to personality styles, that's one thing that the Mike Ferry that I always talk about that we're going to go out to at some point, all 3 of us here. But I've been going to him for multiple years, seeing him. But he always preaches personality styles. You have to know the personality style of your client, which is, are they amiable? Are they an expressive? Are they a driver? Are they analytical? Those are the 4. And you need to know that going in, because if they're expressive and they like to share and put a lot of emphasis on everything and just love to just make everything seem like the greatest thing in the world, and you go in and you just say all statistics and they're going to just it's not going to click, because everybody has a personality style. If you go in with a driver that is just straight business, they want to be direct, they want to be straightforward. And I have one of those clients right now I'm working with where they are very straightforward.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no BS at all. It's just straightforward. But if you're expressive and try to make everything sound amazing, they're gonna get pissed off and see right through that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not worth it. Exactly. So I think that's pretty important to know.
Yeah.
Now, I think looking just in terms of the business, though, and I think you guys can answer this one, is what about the business would you say is the most time consuming? Would you say it's more so the prospecting, the showing, getting listings prepared? I guess 2 questions I would ask is, what is the most time consuming, and what would you say helps you kind of control your time with what you're doing?
Well, I mean, I guess this is my perspective, but I think showings can take a lot of time, but I'm going to preference this and say, words are hard today. I want to say that like showings can be really hard if you're not intentional about them. And what I mean by that is, in the past, I've had clients before who want to go from one side of the state to the other side of the state, and it doesn't work. And so being intentional, because that kind of goes with what do I do to help with that, but just laying out the groundwork on what do you really want. And it's hard to know, like when you first start looking, especially for just like for new home buyers, like sometimes they want to look at everything, sometimes 100%. You just want to see what's out there, and that's great. But also it's extremely important as a realtor to narrow things down and be an instructor and a coach, because that's what you are as a real estate agent. I think as weird as this sounds, like you almost are someone's therapist and someone's coach and mentor and leader, because you're helping them. You're helping guide them through this process.
You're problem solver.
Exactly.
That's what it is. 100%.
Exactly. And it's a huge, huge decision, because like we've always talked about, buying a home is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, financial commitment that you'll make in your life.
Oh yeah, and Dylan, do you have anything to add?
No, honestly, I would have pretty much the exact same answer. And I would say that's why it just is important to nail down the pre-qualification. And, as soon as you at least understand what they can afford and what they want, because it's the most exciting time for them. I mean, you're house shopping. It's arguably the most exciting time for us. I mean, I always enjoy entering new homes and, just looking all over at different subdivisions and neighborhoods and getting to check them out. But yeah, it can take up an entire day pretty fast.
And I think talking about the excitement, talking about always looking, I think that rolls into my next thought, which is a lot of home buyers and home sellers, they're always looking at what's out there because it is an exciting time. It is something that they're looking forward to. It is their biggest transaction they're going to make. So one thing that, and I think both of you guys have experience as well as I do with this, but at what point are you open with your client about saying, this is my business. It's also my life. So I can't be up at 2:00. I can't be up at 3:00 answering calls, doing things like that for them. I do have a life that I need to value as well. So, I mean, do either of you guys have experiences like that, or do you cut your phone off at a certain time or say no calls after a certain time or anything like that?
I mean, I try to. I think that's the hardest thing, getting into real estate has been for me is you want to be there for your clients. You want to be a strong asset to them, which makes me want to be on my phone 24/7 and helping them. But like you said, it's tough because, not only can you, just miss out on things like in your life, but, you talk about burning out, like that's a big thing. And so I think what I need to do a better job of is, setting my feet down and just saying, this is my life.
Do you think that there's a level of respect that clients would have for you just opening up and saying, look, anything you can call me, and if you text me after blank time, I mean, there's a chance I'll get back to you, but if you call me after 10:00, I'm not going to answer. Or call me after 9:00, I'm realistically, I'm not going to answer till next day. It's time I'm going to have for my wife or my family, things like that. Like, do you think clients would respect that by just letting them know these are my guidelines?
I mean, I hope,
Yeah.
I think most people would. But it still makes me, nervous. I don't want people to think that I'm not being attentive to them, but
Of course.
yeah, I think a majority of people will understand that because they have a life too.
Yeah.
I think that they would understand that. And
well, you can flip the question to them, and Dylan, you probably have something to say about this, but you can flip the question to them and saying, if someone for your work calls you at 12:30 at night, are you answering the phone and taking the work call?
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's pretty much all I was going to say is, once again, we're a business. We're our own business. I mean, businesses aren't open all day. And I think that I've been lucky enough. I haven't really had a client do that sort of thing. I have had plenty text and we'll conversate, and then they'll kind of just say, you don't have to respond right now.
Right, get back to me in the morning.
I've got that text plenty of times, like a Saturday night at midnight, and they're like, why are you texting me back? I'm just texting you homes I want to look at next week. And
exactly.
I'm like, well, I'm here. I'm awake. I might as well.
It's like Hannah and I do trivia every Thursday night, and that's one of the things my client that I'm working with right now, I told him that, and because he sent me stuff on Thursday nights, and I answering him whatnot, and then we did a showing Friday the next day. And he was asking what we did the night before, and I was like, no, that's Thursday nights. It's kind of a routine. My wife and I, it's like our one night of the week that we truly get to kind of go out and just hang out. Don't really worry about anything else. And he was like, why are you texting me during that? And then on Wednesday the following week, it was Thursday the following week, he sent me a text, and right after the text, he goes, I just realized it's Thursday night. He goes, please do not respond to me until the next day. But it's like, you appreciate clients like that value what you have going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, yes, it is a business, and you do want to be there for them. But I think as long as they know you have their best interests in mind, they understand.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, too, that we can talk about trips. We can talk about golf, because that is the kind of stuff that comes up often with real estate or any sales job that's seen as a stereotype. But yes, there are the luxuries, in a sense, of being flexible with where you are for work sometimes. Not always, sometimes. But at the same point, you work really inconvenient times.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, doing a trip, it's hard. It's hard to go on just a 3-day trip, even if it's just to Chicago from St. Louis. It's hard to do a 3-day trip without being on your phone.
Because we always say the most is going to happen during those 3 days.
Right? It is like clockwork.
Your client's going to find their dream home.
Right. The moment wheels up in the plane, the moment you take off, you're going to get a listing. You're going to get 2 new buyers. You're going to get a $1.5 million dream house a buyer wants to grab. All that happens. I swear that happens. But no, and I think talking about the business though, and understanding how it's ran, what's your thoughts in terms of trying to, because we talked about time management. We've talked about trying to get clientele, like where to find clientele. We talked about realtor success rate, things like that. But I guess the question I'd ask now is, what about just the day-to-day activities? What are those like, would you say? Is it, because a lot of times, again, from a stereotypical standpoint, it's, you wake up at 10:30 and you can kind of lounge into whatever. You don't realize that we're on meetings often. Mm-hmm. We're trying to talk to clients. We're trying to keep everyone informed. But Dylan, what's your kind of day-to-day look like?
Well, I think something that always keeps the business interesting, and you want to stick to a schedule, but in all honesty, every day is going to be different. Yeah. I mean, especially when you're balancing a lot of things, like you mentioned before. I mean, I have a lot going on right now to where, I mean, within a week or so, I'll probably have 7 homes under contract, and I mean, at that point,
that's incredible.
It's nearly impossible to stick to a schedule.
That is incredible.
I mean, you're having to.
You realize that's more than what majority of agents do in a year. I think 3 was what the average realtor in 2025 sold.
Maybe in their first year?
No.
Fact check.
All right. You guys ready for an update?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is kind of wild. So 71.1% of realtors did not sell a single home in 2025.
Wow.
Is that not wild to think about? Like 70% did not sell a home. 71.1.
It's just everyone licensed.
That is all licensees. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But, so I'm sure there's a lot of active people.
Right.
Right. Okay, but still, I mean,
it's still a big number.
You can say 50% of the agents, roughly. That's not an exact number, but 50% of agents are part time. 50% are full time.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's more than 50 are part time. But say they all do 1 to 0 deals a year. That still means that there is a handful of full-time agents that aren't doing anything. Mm-hmm. And again, for the 15th time this episode, we're circling this all the way back again to this is a business. Why do 71% of agents not sell a home in a year? What do you think would cause that?
They don't take it as a business.
They don't take it serious.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. They take it as a get rich quick task, maybe a scheme, a pyramid scheme thing. I don't know, but it's not. That's not how a business is ran. You treat it with all the luxuries, the free time, the going out, and then you wonder about why you're not doing any business.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a kind of a summary of life as a realtor. Very, very, very quickly summed up in just kind of our thoughts off the top of our head. Like, just a preference. None of this was scripted. This was all just literally off the top of our head. We just said, let's film it.
Let's not get it twisted. I mean, like, we were at Cardinals opening day the other day in the middle of the day. And like, I always see like the Instagram post, like your unemployed friend on a Thursday.
Right.
And it's like him at opening day. And I'm like, those always kill me. But it's like, well, we can get home and work then.
Well, and
we can get it all done in the morning before we go. But
there are benefits.
Yeah.
But at the same time, was I not working on stuff during the game?
Oh yeah. I mean, we both were.
We both probably, I would say, combined maybe 2.5 innings total. We were doing work during the game.
Yeah.
So it's, yes, you have some flexibility, and especially a big event like that. That's cool to go to and experience.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to miss out on it. But at the same time, you need to have your priorities of knowing this has to be done. And I think that's where there's a misconception of, oh, you're just doing whatever you want to do. You have all this free time. And then it's the understanding of, yes, because I'm prioritizing what has to be done. I'm getting everything that needs to be done right away. And I know I'm somewhere that is not a traditional work environment.
Yeah.
But if something comes up, I'm available. I'm going to take care of it. So just being available.
And one thing too, before we wrap it up, I'm curious, like we talked a lot about us as realtors, but if there's anyone out there that's aspiring to be a real estate agent, leave some comments below. And if people have questions about like how to find realtors or whatever, just let us know in the comments below, because we're here. This is an informational podcast, and so we want to be able to help people. Hopefully our stories that we shared are helpful, but I'm just kind of curious what people think, because like you said, there are like a ton of just misconceptions about real estate agents. And so hopefully we kind of cleared things up a little bit.
But. Yeah. And I think Dylan, and last thing I'll say, I mean, you had somebody today reach out to you, and you were up at, you went up near school where we went to college this past weekend and met up with a few old buddies that were also in town. But I think while you were there, you said somebody heard you talking about real estate and heard kind of the success you're having with it, and what you got a text today saying, hey, how can I get into this?
Yeah. They're just asking what website we took the course through, and, just kind of the startups of that. So,
and that's kind of how it starts, but it's also understanding the meaning of being a realtor and what comes with that and the responsibilities that come with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's all great. Being a realtor is amazing. I would not trade this job for anything. I cannot picture me working any other job besides this. I truly can't. But there's a lot of give and take with it. No doubt about it.
For sure.
Guys, thank you for watching. Make sure to share the show, like, subscribe, comment, click every button that's below that you should do. Thanks for watching. Season 2 is going to be next. This is our final episode of Season 1, but Season 2, all special guests. We're going to kick it off with Jake. I think Jake's going to be our first guest, right?
Jake
first
Versman.
Season 1. So Jake Versman, New American Funding, is going to be our very first guest on Season 2. We will see you next week.
Thank you, guys.